And then what? They can only have one meal a day. And then 2 very small meals. Those 2 small meals combined cannot equal the large meal. So they stay away from meat and they eat less. But is it for a total 40 days? No, it's only on those Fridays leading up to Easter Sunday. Many Jews fast what is known as the Day of Repentance, Yom Kippur. Or Yom Kippur, They fast. 25 hours they fast. And they're supposed to leave off everything, even water during that 25-hour period, unless there's a medical excuse or they fear some type of harm. And then they can drink water. But this is their idea of fasting. None of which, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, was prescribed by the prophets. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to us, "O you who believe, fasting has been prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those who came before you." So that doesn't mean that we fast the way that they fast. It means that the same way that they have been commanded to fast, we as a nation have also been commanded to fast. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then spells out for us the reason for that fasting. And he says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you will attain piety. So that you will attain piety. So that you will attain taqwa, which many people translate as piety. And it has a much deeper meaning than that. Maybe we might say the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes people say God consciousness, that you are more aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But taqwa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not left it as an abstract concept. Allah Jalla Jalaluhu has explained to us in the Quran the characteristics of the people of taqwa. And so as we start Ramadan, as we begin this blessed month of Ramadan, it is important for us to take grasp of the meanings of the muttaqeen, of what it means to be someone who is muttaqi, who has the quality of taqwa. So that we don't just let Ramadan come and go, and we don't implement what it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in fact prescribed this month for, so that we can become from the people of taqwa. Jabir ibn Abdullah, radiallahu ta'ala, one of the great companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was the one, for those of you who have made Hajj, Jabir, the hadith, it's called the hadith of Jabir. Very long hadith in Sahih Muslim, where he describes in great detail the Hajj of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And from that detail, we also learn the rights of Umrah, which many of you are here to make Umrah. From that hadith of Jabir radiallahu ta'ala, we learn the tawaf of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his sa'i, so on and so forth, the ihram. Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu ta'ala anhu said in a profound ethar that we should take to heart as we start Ramadan, as we conclude this first day of fasting. Jabir said, when it is the day of fasting for one of you, إِذَا كَانَ يَوْمُ صَوْمِ أَحَدِكُمْ فَلْيَصُمْ سَمْعُهُ وَبَصَرُهُ. When one of you is fasting, then let his eyes fast, and let his ears fast, let his sight fast, let his hearing fast. فَلْيَصُمْ سَمْعُهُ وَبَصَرُهُ وَلِسَانُهُ عَنِ الْكَذِبِ. And let his tongue fast from lying. We need to take this narration to heart if in fact we're going to benefit from this Ramadan. Otherwise, Wallahi, as our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever doesn't leave off lying, and whoever doesn't leave off deceitful behavior, Allah has no need for him to leave off his food and drink. If we sit up here and we fast all day, from Fajr until Maghrib, and we're hungry and we're thirsty, but we're still engaged in doing things that are haram, we're looking at things that are haram, we're listening to things that are haram, or we're saying things that are haram, Allah Azza wa Jalla has no need for our fast. You're not fasting because it benefits Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah doesn't get any benefit from this fast. And if you still look at that which is haram, and you're still listening to things that are haram, and you're still saying things that are haram, then how are you benefiting from your fast? How are you getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the fast? If you are fasting, Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu ta'ala says, then let your sight fast, let your hearing fast, and let your tongue fast from lying. That is important that we take all of that into consideration. Ya Abdullah, if you are fasting, you cannot be looking at that which is haram. And believe me, many people are tested with that today, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has opened up the doors for us as human beings to technological advancements and all type of things, that a person can carry around in his pocket a device that will lead him to on a path that leads him to the hellfire. And he pays for it every month. You pay for a device that brings you a little bit of good and a lot of harm if you don't use it the right way. Because you fast and you still look at things that are haram. And we shouldn't fool ourselves, as some people do, by quoting the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that says the first look is for you and the second look is for shaitan. The first look for you means that you looked at something inadvertently. You weren't trying to see it. You saw it and you looked away. You're not sinful for that. If you looked at it once and you know it was haram and then you continue to look, that's not one look anymore. That's the second look and a third look and everything else. So it is critical that Ramadan, you use this as a purification time and a time to develop good habits. If there's something that you are doing that you know is displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you need to use this time when you're fasting. When you're no longer just feeding your body and feeding your desires and your lusts. When you're no longer feeding that, when you're starving that part of you, when you're starving yourself, then you can now focus on what it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from you. And so you shouldn't look at anything that is haram. And you shouldn't stop there, because if you have a problem like that, then you stay away from anything that leads you to that problem. Nor should you listen to that which is haram. So, and that includes not just the things that immediately come to mind. Like a person who's listening to music. Wallahi, in the month of Ramadan, Shahru Ramadan, alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the month of Ramadan in which the Quran was revealed. You don't find solace with the Quran, but you find solace listening to some music. This is a disease. This is a disease. Even for those people who have tricked themselves into believing that it's okay to listen to music. Because this scholar said it's okay, or that scholar said it's okay. Those people who have made that excuse for themselves. The month of Ramadan still is a month that you're going to be listening to something that we can say is at least, and this is something that, as a side point, the four schools of jurisprudence, the Hanafi school, the Maliki school, the Shafi'i school, and the Hanbali school all say that music is haram, with few exceptions. Like on the day of the Eid, and those who are going out to battle, and there's some other exceptions. But in general, the four schools of jurisprudence all say that music is haram, not to mention the texts that are pretty clear on this particular issue. Okay, then we have someone come along and say, no, but there's a difference of opinion amongst the scholars. Like, if there's a difference of opinion with something being haram and something being halal, what is it better for a Muslim to do? To leave it off. Because it's at least a gray area, at the very least. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Inna al-halala bayyin. The halal is clear. Wa inna al-harama bayyin. And haram is clear. Wa baynahuma umurun mushtabihat. There are areas in the middle between halal and haram that are gray areas. They're doubtful matters. Whoever leaves off those matters, then he's safe. His honor is safe and his religion is safe. What does that mean, that his honor is safe? That means he is safe from people talking about him behind his back. Because he's not engaged in anything that is haram or even remotely haram. And he's safe in his deed, in his religion, meaning that when he stands in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's innocent. He's clear. He hasn't done anything wrong. If he stays away from the haram and the gray areas, those doubtful matters. So, let your hearing fast in the month of Ramadan. That's just as it relates to music. Not to mention the things that are clearly haram. You cannot sit around somebody who's gossiping and allow him to gossip and just sit up there and listen. No. You can't sit around somebody who's backbiting and allow that to happen. Not for your sake or for his or her sake. Because you want them to get the most out of their fast. And the Prophet ﷺ said, ad-deenu nasiha. This deen is nasiha. It's about being true. It's about being sincere. Sincere to Allah. True to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. True to his message. True to the Muslims in general. The Prophet ﷺ said, al-mu'minu mir'at wal-mu'min. The believer is the mirror of the believer. If you see your brother doing something wrong, same way, if you walked out the house, you had ketchup and mustard all over your face, and you didn't realize it. You're just walking around in the street, and nobody said anything to you. How would you feel after you got home and you looked in the mirror, and you saw that you looked crazy, nobody said anything to you? Wouldn't you feel like, subhanAllah, I ran into this person, that person, nobody even told me. Nobody even said anything to me. Is that being true to the Muslim? No. The same thing, if you see a fault in your brother, you see a fault in your sister in Islam, and you just allow it to go, you don't say anything, do you not think that there'll be question about that on Yom Al-Qiyamah? Do you not think that they will have a right to say something to you, but not saying something to them? And we need to, so the point is, if you're around other Muslims who are engaged in gossiping, backbiting, slandering, or vulgar speech, or any type of speech that is displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you need to stop them. I want you right now, anybody that's listening, I want you to memorize this hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, and you all know the hadith anyway. من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر. Whoever from amongst you believes in Allah in the last day. You believe in Allah. You believe that He is your creator. You believe that it is His right alone to be worshipped. And you believe in the last day. That is, that you believe that you will be held accountable for your worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For the things that you've done. And perhaps the things that you did not do. The things that you left off. You believe that you're going to be held accountable for that? If you believe in Allah in the last day, then what? فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا أَوْ then say that which is good or be quiet. Wallahi, brothers and sisters, those who are listening, take this hadith and put it in front of you. Write it down on a piece of paper. Send a note to yourself, note to self, and read it 5 times a day, 6 times a day, 10 times a day until it sinks in. Because what's going to happen now is you're going to start taking account of yourself. And you're going, before you say anything, you're going to ask yourself, is this something good to say or not? And if it's not, you know what you're going to do? You're going to be quiet. Because you want your fast to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, you do that for 30 days, and then it becomes a habit. You actually can wean yourself off of negative speech. And see, فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا, let him say that which is good. Let me ask you something. If somebody complains all the time, is that good speech? No. And it's not an excuse that you're old. Somebody says, oh, no, it's granddad, that's grandma. She just complains all the time. No, it's not okay. It's not okay for granddad or grandma. They're accountable in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا. Backbiting is not khayr. It's not good. Slandering is not good. Cursing is not good. Vulgar speech in general, obscene language is not good. You have to stay away from that. But beyond that, beyond just you staying away from evil speech, you need to raise awareness with those Muslims that are around you. Because you can also get their reward. If you just tell them, say, don't forget that the Prophet ﷺ said, don't forget that the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever believes in Allah on the last day, let him say that which is good or be silent. If you remind them of that, you will get their reward as well. You will get their reward. Because now you can change your speech from that which was evil to that which is good. فَلْيَسُمْ بَصَرُكَ وَسَمْعُكَ وَلِسَانُكَ عَنِ الْكَذِبِ. Jabir ibn Abdullah said, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and he was a close companion of the Prophet ﷺ. When you are fasting, let your sight fast, let your hearing fast, and let your tongue fast. Beware. To the point that many of the scholars of hadith have explained the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that we mentioned earlier. Whoever does not leave off lying and deceitful behavior, Allah has no need for him to leave off his food and drink. They say that this hadith is a clear indication that whoever lies while he is fasting, he gets no reward for his fast. Whoever lies while he is fasting, then he gets no reward for his fast. Because the Prophet ﷺ clarified in this hadith that Allah Azza wa Jalla is not simply rewarding us for leaving off food and drink. You have to leave off these other things as well. Otherwise, there's no reward for the fast. It doesn't mean that you have to fast again. But it means that that great reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about in the hadith where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that every action of the son of Adam, every deed that you do is multiplied 10 to 700 times. Every good deed that you do, every good deed. When you say subhanallah, is that a good deed? Yes, that's a good deed. How many times are you rewarded for saying subhanallah? With Allah Azza wa Jalla, it's like you said it 10 times, perhaps up to 700 times, depending on where it comes from. Are you just saying subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah? Or is it really coming from the heart? That when you say subhanallah, that you recognize that all of the glory is really for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you say alhamdulillah, that you are thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's magnificent attributes, his majestic names and lofty attributes, subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you're thinking about his blessings that he has given you, so you say alhamdulillah. Or is it just something you say on your tongue? Regardless, saying alhamdulillah is rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 10 times, to 700 times. That is magnificent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Illa sawm," except for fasting. فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي. Fasting is for me, and I reward for fasting. Meaning that what? That there's no limit. There's not a 10 to 700 time limit for fasting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you much more than that. But if you lie one time, you have taken away that reward for your fasting. So if you're running late to an appointment and you're fasting, and somebody says, "Where are you?" and you lie, you say, "I'm stuck in traffic." There's no reward for your fasting. You don't fear Allah enough to know that you are going to be held accountable for what you say off of your tongue, for the lies that come out. Because what is it that you're lying for? Why are you lying in the first place? Is it because, and this is important to recognize, is it because you are controlled by what people think of you? You don't want that person to think a certain kind of way about you, and so you lie, so you deceive them? What about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? In fact, you at this point have preferred them over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is why you lie. It's very important that we recognize these things and we stay away from the sins of the tongue. It will destroy your reward in this great month of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed the fasting for us in this month so that we attain taqwa. For the conclusion of today's class, inshallah ta'ala, because we don't want to go more than 45 minutes to an hour every day. I want us to look at the first verses in the Quran after Surah Al-Fatiha, and I'm going to talk about how that relates to our study for the remainder of Ramadan bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Allah Azza wa Jalla has told us that He prescribed fasting for what reason? So that we attain what? Taqwa. And Allah Azza wa Jalla has not left that ambiguous in the Quran. He's not left it up to our imagination. So as we read the Quran, we start to learn more about what taqwa is. Last night when the Imam began reciting at-Tawheed, after Surah Al-Fatiha, he started from the beginning of the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah. Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Right? Alif Lam Mim, that is a book about which there is no doubt. In it is guidance for the people of taqwa. The people of taqwa. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the characteristics of the people of taqwa. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Those who believe in the unseen and who establish the salah and who give from what we have provided them. That is, they give in charity and they give in those areas where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated for us to spend, like your zakat. From what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, you spend. Three things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, correct? Those who believe in the unseen, and those who establish the salah, and those who give out of what we have provided for them. We're going to stop today, and for the rest of Ramadan, we're going to focus on number one. Those who believe in the unseen. And the greatest of the unseen is what? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to be from the muttaqeen, and you really want to get out of Ramadan, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed the fasting of this month for, then you have to have proper faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Proper faith in His angels, in His books, in His messengers, in the last day, and in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decree. That is the summary of the unseen. The greatest of them all, and that from which everything else stems, is your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a lot of us say, what Muslim doesn't believe in Allah? And it's true. Every Muslim believes in Allah. And in fact, many of the kuffar believe in Allah. But not the kind of belief that would allow them to enter into the fold of Islam. And many of the Muslims have a belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is shallow. It's enough to keep them Muslim. But is it enough to ward off doubt about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is it enough of a belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to really establish Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rights over us? Wallahi, people stand in prayer. All of the Muslims in this masjid. When it's time for prayer, we stand in prayer. Some of those who stand in prayer, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, will have a tenth of the reward of the person standing next to them. That person gets a full reward for salah. This person gets a half. This person gets a quarter. This person gets an eighth. This person walks away with a tenth of the reward. What is that based on? Are they all doing the same thing? They all start off by saying what? What do they say at the beginning of salah? Allahu Akbar. And then they put their hands here and they recite Surah Al-Fatiha. They're all doing the same thing, correct? They go into ruku', they go into sujood. Externally, everybody's doing the same thing, or just about. I need some slight variation. Why is it that this person begins to cry in his salah? And he feels so close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when he's in sujood. And he's making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the next person, if you ask him after the salat, how many rak'ahs did he pray? He said, what salat was it? He said it was Asr. He said it was 4 rak'ahs. You ask him, what did the Imam recite? Maghrib. Immediately after salat. He said, the Imam recited what? He doesn't remember anything. Where was he in his prayer? Somewhere else. Somewhere else. Totally. He just went through the motions. Externally, they look the same. But internally is what affects the true reward of your salat. Knowing who you are standing in front of in the salat is the greatest thing that will affect your khushu'. Knowing that you are standing in front of Rabbul Alameen, knowing that you are standing in front of your Creator, knowing that you are standing in front of Al-Kareem, the one who is generous, knowing that you are standing in front of Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the one who is merciful, such that if you've done any sins, that you know that He is Ghafur, that He forgives those sins, that He is Tawwab, that He accepts your repentance. But knowing that you are also standing in front of Shadidul Iqam, that His punishment is severe. And so that if you continue in those sins, that if you are persistent in a sin, that is not the way of the muttaqeen, and that you may be subjecting yourself to the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Knowing that that is who you are standing in front of is from the actions of your heart. It is knowledge. That's why we are gathered here today, so that we can grow in knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Knowing who He is subhanahu wa ta'ala, and knowing His rights upon us. The human being, our lives are based on relationships. There's not any person who was born except that they had parents. What's that mean? That means the minute that you are born, there is a relationship that is established, correct? That is your relationship with your mother and your father. Now, some people's mothers may die during birth. Some people's fathers may have died while their mothers were pregnant with them. They may never know their father. They may never know their mother, but they still have parents. And someone is going to raise them. And so there's a relationship between that child and the one who raises them. Assuming the normal circumstances, which is that the child has parents. Those parents may have other children. And so now you have siblings. And your parents also had siblings. And so you have aunts and uncles. And then you go to school and you have classmates. And you graduate and you get a job and you have colleagues at work. And you go to the Masjid. And maybe you live around Muslims and non-Muslims, all of whom have rights over you. And you also have rights over them. Their rights over you are called responsibilities. I hope you understand this. Everybody you come in contact with, you have a responsibility to them. You have rights over them, their rights and responsibilities in every relationship that exists. Every relationship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our creator and our sustainer and our master. And we are his servants. We are his slaves. We are his creation. And that relationship between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also is built on rights and responsibilities. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken on the responsibility of providing for his creation. And he has a right over us. And that right is that we worship him alone, subhanahu wa ta'ala. That he has the exclusive right to be worshipped. And that we stay away from giving that right of worship to anyone else, including ourselves. A lot of us, when we think about worshiping other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we think about things that don't tend to happen in more educated societies. Let's put it like that. You don't tend to see people in advanced societies worshiping graves, making tawaf around graves, or bowing to statues in general. It exists, but it's not as common as it was in days gone. But if you look at today, the fact that we now worship other systems over the system of Islam, and in fact establish deities with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sometimes even ourselves. And Allah Azza wa Jal says this in the Quran, أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ فَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ. Do you not see the one who has taken his own desires, his own lusts, as a deity? That is, that he worships that thing besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That many people have turned from the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the worship of other human beings in some way, shape, or form. And so, inshallah ta'ala, if we go back and we look at what are the characteristics of the muttaqeen, because this whole month, the fasting of this entire month of Ramadan was prescribed so that we can be from amongst the muttaqeen. And the first of the characteristics of the people of taqwa is that they believe in the unseen. We have to make sure that our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sound. That it's not just a belief that was passed on from generation to generation. That I'm a Muslim because my parents were Muslim. And I have a very shaky belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Perhaps it's not that strong. No, we have to solidify that. And that is what we're going to be doing, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, on a daily basis, after Asr, here in the Masjid of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, so that we can recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rights over us and the responsibility that He has taken for us, so that we can draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that we can better know who He is subhanahu wa ta'ala and worship Him better. And so we're going to be studying, inshallah ta'ala, the book known as Kitab at-Tawheed, alladhi huwa haqqullahi ala al-abid. The book of Tawheed, that is pure monotheism, and we'll talk about the definition of Tawheed, inshallah ta'ala, in the class tomorrow. The book of Tawheed, which is the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon His servants. And all of us are His servants. All of us are the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we need to know that right that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has upon us and what it is that we are created for. There are three questions. Three questions that a Muslim, alhamdulillah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it very easy for us to know, that the philosophers of the world consider to be the biggest questions that humanity has ever faced. Until today. These are the big questions. You know what they are? Where did we come from? That's question number one. What's question number one again? Where did we come from? That's a big question. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this very easy in the Quran. As Muslims, because, and a lot of times we don't realize what a blessing Islam is until you look at other systems, other lifestyles, other religions, and other ways of life. And then you start realizing, alhamdulillah, all praises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has guided us to Islam. And that we have a book that comes from Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is unadulterated, that's pure, that hasn't been tampered with. And so these answers are there. While you have billions of people on earth who don't have these answers, where did we come from? They come up with all types of strange theories. There was this Big Bang, and then there was this Unicell, and then it came, and it morphed into this, and it turned into whatever. And then we got fish, and from fish we got this, and then we turned into whales and bears, and then we got human beings. Okay, let's just assume, beautiful, great science theory. The things that bang together, where did they come from? Oh no, we don't want to talk about that. That's not on the radar. You're not supposed to, you're asking too many questions now. It doesn't matter where it came from. No, it does, it really does matter. Oh, it's matter and energy. Okay. Matter and energy just came from nowhere, or it came from somewhere. It had to have a beginning. And so people come up with these theories, and this is what's taught to our youth, the Muslims, in school. They're being taught this stuff. And we're not countering effectively. We throw our kids in public schools in Western societies. And they're taught this stuff day and night. And to the point that they believe that when we tell them other stories, that this is just fiction or legend. So they have no answers for that question if they don't believe in a creator. They have no answer to where did we come from. That's question number one. Question number two. What's question number two? Anybody know? Yeah. Before that. That's question number three, by the way. Yes. Yes. Question number two. Why are we here? We're here. We haven't gotten to the point, and some people believe this is one of the greatest philosophers. He doubted his own existence. That's a great philosophy. When you doubt the fact that you actually exist. Am I a figment of my own imagination? And therefore it is only my imagination that exists. Ya Allah. As the Arabs say, al-junun. craziness takes on many different forms. Why are we here? Where did we come from? We know that we exist. What is the purpose for this existence? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also spelled that out for us in the Quran. He didn't leave it up to our own imagination. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, because it directly relates to the book that we studied. And then the last question, and honestly, there's only one way to know why you're here. You have to know that answer from the one who created you. Otherwise, there's no... Look, if somebody looked at a pen and they didn't know what it was for, right? What is a pen for, by the way? It's to write with. A person created this pen to write with. If somebody doesn't know what it's for, they'll stab somebody in the eye. They don't know what it's for. I'm defending myself. And it can be used for that, perhaps. That wasn't what it was created for. It can be used in that way. But if it is used in that manner, then it's being used in a way that it wasn't created for. How do I know, was it to write with, or was it to stab somebody in the eye with? I need to go back to the one who made it. And then I can ask that person, why did you make this pen? Oh, it's to write with. Maybe he was a ninja warrior or something, and he made the pen to stab somebody in the eye. Maybe. The point is, you don't know until you ask the one who made it. And so the human being can do a lot of different things. We live for a lot of different purposes. You hear people say all the time, oh, this is my calling. Your calling? What are you talking about? Who called you to do what? Oh, this is my purpose in life. To do what exactly? To be a great football player. My purpose in life. Entertain people. This is my purpose in life. Really? That's where it stops? So you'll see that person entertaining people until he's 70, 75 years old, until he croaks. Because he has no idea what it is that he was created for. He didn't go back to the one who created him. And that creator communicated to us what it was that we were created for. The third question, as the brother here says, is where are we going? Where are we going? Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. There's not a living soul except that it is going to taste death. What happens after that? Where do you go after that? And that has also been spelled out in the Quran. That has been communicated to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, the lessons that will be daily, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, after Asr, we're going to be covering at least those first two questions, inshallah ta'ala, which is which is where we came from and why are we here. And we're going to go into some detail about the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that we can draw closer to Him, so that we can be closer, so that we can embody more of the characteristics of the muttaqeen. Wallahu ta'ala alam, wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad. If there are any questions, then we'll take those questions for the next 5 minutes or so. And then we'll stop for today. We'll come back tomorrow and answer. Yes, go ahead.
What advice do you have for parents dealing with children that may be dishonest and they may become habitual?
Nah. So the question is, what advice do you have for parents who are dealing with children who may be dishonest with them, to the point that perhaps their dishonesty has become habitual? And the answer to that, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his success, is that there's no manual for parenthood. Parenting has no manual. A lot of times we go into it, we have our own experiences from how we were raised, and we say, I'm never going to do that to my children. Or that was a good thing that my father used to do, or my mother used to do. I'm going to implement that when I have children. Or we look around and we learn from experience, right? But one of the greatest tools for helping your children to avoid lying is to have them be attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not to you. Many times we make the mistake as parents by making our children think that we see everything and we hear everything. Don't you lie, because I know what you're doing. Even when I'm not around, I still know what you're doing. You know, parents tell their children this all the time, which is a mistake, because at some point your children are going to figure out that you don't know. They're going to lie to you and you couldn't figure out that they were lying. And then they figured out from then on that you don't know everything, that you don't hear everything, that you don't see everything. And it's very important from a very young age to teach your children. Don't do it for me. Do it for Allah. Whatever it might be. Even salah. Don't do it for me. Do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not going to be around all the time. I'm not going to be able to be there to see, did you pray Thor when you were at school? Did you pray Asr? Or not? I'm not going to be there to see that. But if your child is taught from a very early age that Allah is as-Sami', He is the one that hears everything. He is al-Ali. He knows everything. He knows what's in your heart. That Allah Azza wa Jal is Kareem, that He's generous. That when you want something, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We teach our children to come to us when you want something. Teach them to make dua. Teach them to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Teach them to have a healthy fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Teach them to hope in Allah Azza wa Jal's reward. If you do that, and you teach your children, for example, you teach them the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, where he says, "Iyyakum wal-kadhib," beware of lying. Because lying leads to fujur. It leads to corruption. Even corruption of one's heart. A person will lie so much that the truth, that what they see becomes distorted. As Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned. A person lies so much that what they see with their own two eyes is not even reality anymore, because they got so accustomed to lying. And so when you teach your children that our Prophet ﷺ, who was the most compassionate with this ummah, was very strict when it came to lying. Beware of lying. فَإِنَّ الْكَذِبَ يَهْدِي لَلْفُجُورِ. Because lying leads to corruption, and corruption leads to the hellfire. You teach your children that it is better for them to tell the truth and deal with the consequences, but you have to be, you as a parent, have to make that a reality. For example, kids are outside, they're playing ball. Your child throws the ball that breaks somebody else's car window. Okay? Now, you tell your kid, just tell me the truth. Just tell me the truth. What actually happened? Kids are all blaming each other. No, this one did it. No, he's lying on me, right? You know how it is. Okay. So many of them, you can't actually tell what happened. And so you tell your child, just tell me the truth, and everything will be okay. Then they tell you the truth. It was me. And then you beat them. And you put them on punishment. And you take their allowance to pay back the person. What are they going to want to do the next time? They're going to want to lie the next time. The consequences of the truth can't be that. The consequences of the truth be, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for telling the truth. Because now, by you telling the truth, you're going to own that. You're going to take responsibility, and nobody else has to take responsibility for your fault. The same way that you wouldn't want to take responsibility for someone else's fault. Correct? And you tell them this is how we're going to deal with it. It was an honest mistake. They were outside playing. But no, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about this. Because we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. How does that happen? You're not going to play ball under these certain types of circumstances. This is what we're going to go half on the window. It's $100. You're going to pay 50 of it. I'm going to pay the other 50. There has to be consequences, because your child needs to understand that when he or she does something wrong, that there are consequences. But they can't be the type of consequences that are draconian punishments. Not unless it's something that's crazy. And that, in general, if you raise your child in a manner that they are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it won't go that far. So, again, to summarize, connect them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Teach them about the virtue of truth. And make sure that the consequences for them telling the truth are reasonable and fair. Last thing that I'll say on that particular point is you have to be truthful. Many children learn to lie from their parents. Somebody knocks on the door. Tell them I'm not home. They see you. They see you. You and the child are together going to an appointment and you're late. Oh, what happened? Oh, we got stuck in traffic. There was a bad accident. Your child is right there. He knows you're lying. And so then your child now believes that the way to get out of a sticky situation is to lie. Wallahu ta'ala. If there are any questions as well about fasting, about what to do if you can't fast, or any of those other questions that people have in general about Ramadan, we'll take those as well beginning tomorrow after Asr. Subhanallah wa bihamdik. Inshallah,